The political war of words between President Trump and Speaker Pelosi has deteriorated to a level beneath words, comprehensible words at least. That's why we're going to do something different here to make sure you understand just how low the president has stooped in his efforts to smear the Speaker of the House. We believe that transparency is the best disinfectant for dirty politics, so we're going to break down what the President of the United States did to the Speaker of the House when he shared a doctored video of her with his millions of Twitter followers. A slowed-down video like the one he tweeted of Pelosi has the effect of making anyone look like they're having a hard time speaking. We decided to stop airing the Pelosi video, so I'm going to show you what I look like and sound like doctored. Here I am yesterday. Hi, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in New York. Are Democrats closing in on Donald Trump's red line? Some would argue I sound like that anyway. A 3-second Google search, I found a video of the president slowed down as well. I'm going to show you the actual footage of what Donald Trump said at a campaign rally back in 2016 first.
19 trillion going to 21 trillion, not billion. We have trillions. Nobody even knows what a trillion is. 19 trillion going to 21 trillion, not billion. We have trillions.
Today's lesson, undoctored video. Joining me for this conversation, Jason Johnson, politics editor for The Root, plus Jen Palmieri, former White House communications director for President Obama, and my Friday date, the Rev Al Sharpton, host of Politics Nation here on MSNBC, and president of the National Action Network. Ron Klain is still with us in Washington. So, Jen, I wanted to cover this story of what Donald Trump did. He sent out a doctored video of Nancy Pelosi, but I wanted to cover it without repeating and furthering his smear of Nancy Pelosi, right, which had the intent to do exactly what he did to Hillary Clinton, who fell ill at an event on 9/11, I think, in New York. This is part of the sexism of Donald Trump, where he makes a woman look feeble. And this is part of the debasement of our politics, where he irresponsibly tweets out a video of someone in a doctored video.
Yeah, and you have enough of a campaign person in you to know to not repeat the video and try to use some other means to show what he's doing, which I appreciate. This is what he does to strong women. And, you know, when they started going after Hillary for being weak and being sick, which I thought was particularly diabolical but smart, because she was so strong and indefatigable and worked so hard, and that was a strength of hers. And now he's doing it to Pelosi, and it's trying to make and there's a lot of projection, right? You know, he's an older guy. He's not the most healthy. You know, he doesn't take great care of himself. He's not in the best shape. But this is what he tries to do to women in particular, to make them look ineffectual.
Absolutely, I think it's sexist. He does not do this to men. I think he's intimidated by smart women. Nancy Pelosi is smarter than Donald Trump, and he's intimidated by that. If you notice, every time there's a meeting with them, he completely falls apart. He went berserk the other day. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And I think that his misogyny and his being unraveled by a smart woman, he just can't help it. The danger of it, though, and I agree with her that thank God you didn't run the Pelosi tape. But we're talking about, fine, in politics we're doing unprecedented things, but this is the President of the United States doing it at a presidential level. Right. This is what is so alarming to me now. We're not talking now partisan politics or pundit. This is the President that's sending this out on Twitter.
And look, at the point of a doctored video, now we spent a lot of time trying to do this segment responsibly, and I showed myself to make the point that we're not trying to insult anybody, but to show just how easily you can alter someone by changing the feed. And the president didn't put that notification altered video up on the smear against Pelosi. We put that up so that our viewers, I mean, he's not interested in transparency. He's not interested in a fair fight because he can't win a fair fight.
And I think it's always important. We always have these conversations about how this isn't normal, right? Like, we got upset, what was it, 8 years ago when Dick Cheney used profanity, like, in Congress, and it got caught on tape, and we now have a president of the United States who just tries to personally debase his political opponents who he's supposedly working with. And that's sort of the larger question here. And I agree with everyone else. Thank you very much, Nicolle, for not sort of giving him the attention that he wanted to get. But I also think it's the idea that he can't give a policy response. So he's basically acting like a 7-year-old and saying, well, you're a dum-dum head. Like that's what he does now. He just attacks people because he has no policy response. And that's the dangerous precedent that we're seeing here.
Ron Klain, it does suggest, in politics, when you've got nothing left, you go this low. And obviously, Michelle Obama's, you go low, we go high. You have to engage Donald Trump where he is. And I actually admire Nancy Pelosi for taking him on, for questioning his manhood, for questioning his mental acuity this week as she's done. But when the fight got too hot, Donald Trump doctored a video.
No question, Nicole. And look, we have to remember also that while you've handled this issue really responsibly here on your show, right now, as we're talking at this moment, thousands of people are seeing this video on Facebook, on Twitter, on social media platforms without the context, without the explanation. And that's what Donald Trump is about. He did this in 2016 to Hillary Clinton. He's doing it now. He is putting this material out into the political bloodstream by using new technology, new media, social media platforms, and millions of people are seeing it, and that's corrupting our politics.
Well, you're one of the best operatives in the business. What do you do? You're right. People that got this video via tweet from the president's Twitter feed, they didn't have that disclosure. They may not know it's doctored. They may have figured out Donald Trump by now, but it certainly doesn't say this doctored. It's been my theory for a long time that 16 Republicans lost, Hillary Clinton lost electorally because of the asymmetry, that Trump has the audacity to lie. He has the sort of enthusiasm to debase politics, to tweet out a video like what he tweeted out about Pelosi. How do you counter that?
Well, first of all, the social media platforms have to do a better job of policing this because it's not just, it is, Nicole, you're right, it's definitely Trump's debasement and Trump's depravity, but it's technologically facilitated. And we can't forget that people are delivering this to one another on these platforms. And I think Facebook and Twitter have to do a better job of policing that. But campaigns, I agree, the Democrats running against him are going to have to come up with better answers than we had in the Clinton campaign in 2016 for how to go and check this.
Right.
I think that he's right on both counts. But I also think there's another cynical part of this we shouldn't miss. He's also distracting us from the fact that he did throw a temper tantrum when he was supposed to be discussing infrastructure.
Right.
I travel a lot. The bridges, the tunnels, the highways, the streets are crumbling.
Yeah.
And he threw what my mother would call a hissy fit in 3 minutes and walked out of a meeting that his own supporters need to see the infrastructure dealt with and could provide jobs for them. And he walks out because someone dared say he ought to be investigated, that somebody dared say he's not above the law, and he threw infrastructure, bridges, tunnels, highways, and jobs to the side because you question me, and he covers it with this perverted tape on Nancy Pelosi for saying that he did exactly what he did through a temper tantrum rather than deal with infrastructure, which he promised his supporters that he was going to deal with. Let's not miss that.
And I think people cover this dynamic as, oh, she's the perfect foil for him. I think it's the opposite.
No.
I think he's the perfect foil for her. She has some challenges keeping her caucus together on impeachment. I think he is such a unifying foil for her that for her to get the best of him, it's Friday. She won Monday. She won Tuesday, she won Wednesday, and she won Thursday. When you're right, he lined up his staffers, mid-level, low-level, and high-level staffers alike, and made them all testify like hostages in a video that he was calm. It's bananas.
And half of them wasn't even in the room.
Exactly. And they were still right for him.
That was in the hallway. Yes, you were calm. Yes, sir, you were calm. They weren't even there. And I think, again, she's smarter than him. She lays back. It reminds me when I was a kid, when Muhammad Ali fought Foreman, and he had a rope-a-dope. You lay on the rope and let him punch himself out. And that's what's happening with Trump. He is doing the work for her, but the American people need to understand it's at our expense. Right. What about infrastructure?
Yeah, so here's his effort at spinning this.
Did you hear what she said about me long before I went after her? Did you hear? She made horrible statements. She knows they're not true. She said terrible things. So I just responded in kind. Look, you think Nancy's the same as she was? She's not. Maybe we could all say that.
It's like he's on Yelp. He's like, I read my reviews. They used to be good. Now they're bad. I'm so sad.
But
he's like 4.
I don't know that there is a better way for the Democratic presidential candidates to handle this because he is such a child, because it is all about projection. But I think that what you see happening now is checks and balances, you know, as they were imagined in the Constitution, happening in a very dramatic fashion, not in the way perhaps that we would have expected to see a president behave, but the Speaker of the House holding him accountable. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of, you know, there's millions of his followers that are going to see that video and they're going to believe it. And there's many more who are not. And ultimately, she is getting the best of him. And ultimately, I think, you know, she's the one that's got the check on him. And, you know, that's yet to be played out, how far that's going to go, because she's got a lot of power over that boy.
Hold that thought. We're just taking a break. Jason Johnson on the other side of the break.